Hey everybody, I'm going to get my my post started about the practical importance of culture and why I think it's important. I think that, like everybody else said, it's beneficial to me to um, know about different cultures, and I think that's important because of how it's going to impact how I handle myself in different situations when dealing with people from other cultures. Um, and as let's see, I think it was Danielle or Allison, one of them had mentioned about how important it is to understand how that culture impacts human development. And I think that's really important. The one thing that I wonder about with how important culture is how we learn about culture. Like we take this class and that's great and everything, but we still it might be easy for us to learn in this type of situation about cultures that are more of the collective type of cultures because they, it's a large group typically of people who do the same types of behaviors and rituals and that sort of thing. But like for me, I feel like in the United States there's so many different cultures that it would be hard or difficult to learn about that from like a class like this. So that would be the one thing that I would wonder about. Um, Everybody had great posts, I thought, and uh, I guess I'll start with the questions that we were provided with to respond to. Um, did I learn anything particularly interesting or surprising? I'm gonna start by a quote that I found interesting out of the book. It was, "We all grow up in cultures where we understand what happens around us because the experiences are a familiar part of our environment and our daily lives." Um, I think that that quote is pretty interesting because I think that people tend to, it kind of describes us like, um, not being familiar with their own cultures. Like, I feel like sometimes I'm not familiar with my own culture because I feel like it's so common. And I had a hard time. I took a class last semester, and one of the parts of that class was finding, discovering like our own cultural identity and actually figuring out what that was for us. I think sometimes that people, we get so comfortable in the what we live in and that sort of thing that we don't know that we even have a culture, some of us. Um, the other part of the book, and somebody else had commented on this in the discussion, was individualism and collectivism. Trying to find my notes. Who said that? Oh, Haley. It looks like I found that that was really interesting, and that kind of goes back to my not knowing. I think because we live in such an individual type of culture in the United States, that sometimes it's hard to identify with a culture of, and the cultures can be so different versus like a collective type of culture like Chinese or that sort of thing, where typically they all participate in the same way in their lives and their families, and the importance of education and family loyalty and that sort of thing. One of the other things that I have listed was the ecological model, and I think that I'm gonna find that in my book. I think that that's interesting because it's amazing what can impact and have this like ripple effect on people and their lives and their development when you don't really think of that. It's not an immediate impact, but the the cultural influences of I don't know, say a caregiver, or even bigger than that, something more broad, and the impact that it can have on the child who's developing, or a family of a different culture. Um, it also makes me think about how the one thing that I was going to relate to confirming my past experiences or that sort of thing is I think that cultures change from generation to generation. I think it's a constant changing thing. Um, for example, like when I was younger growing up, we went to church every Sunday, that sort of thing. As I became an adult, I stopped going to church, and then as I had my own family, we have started going back to church. So it's kind of like this. I've had to find my own cultural. ways for my family and me as I've grown into an adult. So it's interesting how it kind of it develops over time. I think to an extent, or it changes over time. But I thought that the posts were really good. I think everybody did a great job in identifying things in the chapter that were interesting to them and knowing how important culture is. Thanks, guys.